650,000 claimed dead in Iraq since the American-led invasion and counting, 2% of the population. Good evening. This latest count of Iraq's dead, compiled by the medical journal The Lancet, carried out house-to-house inquiries asking the occupants if anyone in the household had been killed. Washington and London moved quickly to try to deny the figures, President Bush calling them not credible. Tonight, in the absence of comprehensive figures from the coalition, we assess the impact of this latest count, both inside and outside the country. More than 650,000 Iraqis have died as a result of the invasion 3 years ago and its bloody sectarian aftermath, a far higher figure than previous estimates. According to a report published by the Lancet Medical Journal, there have been 500 additional deaths a day since March 2003, with most due to violence and a third attributable to the actions of US-led forces. The report, compiled by researchers at an American university, says the number represents 2.5% of the population of Iraq. The figures are based on household interviews, not body counts, and President Bush said he didn't think they were credible. Here's Tom Clark.
A couple of times each week, Sheikh Jamal al-Sudani collects Iraq's unnamed dead. In the morning, he meets with a team of volunteers at a Baghdad hospital morgue. These men don't discriminate. They take the unclaimed and unidentified bodies found on Baghdad's streets. Both Sunni and Shia, mostly they're victims of Iraq's routine violence, but occasionally the bodies of suicide bombers. Once collected, they make the perilous journey to Najaf, one of the holiest sites in Iraq, to give these nameless dead an Islamic burial. Sheikh al-Sudani started this grim public service while Saddam was still in power. Our Iraq team filmed this last year, but today he's as busy as ever.
In the
time of Saddam the Destroyer, we would bury nearly 30 to 40 bodies a month. After his downfall, we thought we were done with this awful work, that we would get respite from this bitter task which brings us only pain and sadness. But what we were surprised by was how much the work increased, and now we're burying between 200 and 250 bodies a month.
Watching this man's work, you can understand why it's so hard to estimate the true human cost of the war in Iraq. But tomorrow, US and Iraqi researchers publish a study that attempts to do just that. The researchers went to 47 sites across Iraq, visiting just over 1,800 households, containing 12,800 people. Their interviews revealed 547 deaths in the 3 years since the invasion, compared to 82 in the 14 months before. The researchers used that data to calculate estimated mortality rates for the country. 5.5 deaths per 1,000 people per year before the attack, 13.3 deaths per 1,000 people per year since. Extrapolating that rate to the entire Iraqi population, they estimate nearly 655,000 people since March 2003 have died as a consequence of the war. But that's the statistical midpoint of a wide range, from 392,000 to 942,000.
We're confident in our data. We have used tried and true methods. These are not things we invented. They're off the shelf, and many of them were developed with very strong financial and technical support from the U.S. government, and the U.S. government uses these all over the world every day. So I'm confident in the results we've turned up. Everybody likes more precision, and if we'd had a bigger sample size, we would have had a smaller confidence interval and we'd had greater precision, but we would have also produced a lot more risk for our interviewer. So we weighed off these, and this was the sample size we selected in the end.
The research builds on a study Burnham's team published 2 years ago that was dismissed by Iraqi, British and US governments as an overestimate. Today their new finding, which attributes the cause of 31% of deaths to coalition forces, was rejected immediately by a president under pressure over Iraq.
No, I don't consider it a credible report. Neither does General Casey, and neither do Iraqi officials. I do know that a lot of innocent people have died, and that troubles me and it grieves me. And I applaud the Iraqis for their courage in the face of violence.
Other estimates certainly are lower. Official figures avoid a total for the entire conflict, but the latest US data suggests around 120 violent deaths in Iraq each day. The UN, a monthly figure, 3,000 in August this year. The most cited independent survey, Iraq Body Count, based on media reports, does estimate a total death toll, less than 50,000 civilians since the invasion. So is this study any more reliable than the others?
They have enhanced the precision this time around, and it is the only scientifically based estimate that we have got, where proper sampling has been done, and where we have got a proper measure of the uncertainty about those results.
While researchers and politicians argue over the true body count, even official figures reflect a staggering and continual rise in deaths. As pressure grows on the coalition to rethink their strategy in Iraq, on the ground both researchers and volunteers, like Sheikh Jamal al-Sudani, will continue to count the dead who otherwise could so easily be forgotten.
Tom Clark reporting. Well, we did ask the Foreign Secretary Margaret Beckett for an interview. She wasn't available, but the Foreign Office released a statement on the Lancet report saying of Mrs. Beckett, she said, every death in Iraq is a tragedy for those affected. The government of Iraq represents all communities and is committed to tackling sectarian violence. We are supporting this effort and will continue to do so. The numbers that the Lancet has extrapolated are a substantial leap from other figures. What is important is that we bring an end to the violence and death in Iraq.